Yeah, so I guess it's 8 a.m. I'm going to the shadow mode and give my word to the Gordana. He will do it very amazing, believe me.
Why should I? Yes. I'll do my best anyways. Okay. So yes, please everyone watching us, whether you are on YouTube or you're watching us here on this webinar. Yes, we do already have greetings from Poland. Please do share your locations, tell us what you do. And if you are sharing your location, that already means that you do hear all of us well. Okay, so that for me means that we can actually start. So welcome everyone. We are here at Symphony Solutions, streaming live from our physical office in Lviv, Ukraine, and we're talking today about managing remote teams in 2023. My name is Boden. I'm the internal communication specialist. And today it is my privilege to be host of this event. So after the pandemic, we at Symphony Solutions, just like so many other companies, opened ourselves to more opportunities, hiring worldwide and moving to a virtual company model. And having teammates worldwide, we started to investigate and establish a new approach to management with our own mistakes and success stories. And now it's 2022, and the number of people working remotely is increasing daily. So we decided to address the specialists in different areas from different parts of the world on the client side to share their knowledge and their skills in virtual management. So I would not wait another second, and I would love to introduce to you our amazing experts. First of all, please welcome a self-motivated and passionate professional, over 16 years of experience working with cross-functional teams to deliver quality software, satisfying customer needs, worked in different industries as IT services and IT consulting, financial services, healthcare, iGaming, has experience as Scrum Master, project manager, business analyst, product owner, director, and now she's a Chief Executive Officer at Avantage Entertainment. Please welcome Amanda Beloy.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you, Amanda. Thank you very much for being with us. Coming next, 12 years of experience in HR within manufacturing industries, 4 years within hospitality industry, dealt with the pandemic. 2 years within the software development industry with a focus on gaming, dealt with work from home schemes, corporate human resources manager at Paperhead, all the way from Costa Rica, Rodrigo Vega.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you. And with over 20 years of experience in service delivery, project management, team leadership, people management, and business client relationships, managed over 80 multilingual and multinational teams on-site and remotely in different locations worldwide, trainer in different management fields, and also has a huge entrepreneurial experience, service delivery manager at Symphony Solutions. Please welcome Gordana Andonovska.
Thank you, Bogdan, and good evening, everyone. I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion.
It's a pleasure to have you all, and I would just suggest to go right into the discussions. We have a lot of questions to talk about, and before we do so, I would just ask for the audience to go ahead and share your locations, your occupations, the industry you're working in, and with that being said, let's just start the conversation with this first and one of the most important questions. So, what challenges do you face while managing remote teams, and how do you handle them? May I please have Amanda for you to start? Would that be okay with you?
Sure.
Please go ahead.
So when it comes to challenges, there's many of them, but I'll just focus on kind of the 3 top challenges that we're facing. So the first one is a distributed workforce. So the fact that we have teams working with us that are in different countries, which in turn results in different time zones. So we have to figure out how everyone's going to work together. What we did for that one is we established a schedule. So we happen to use resources from Symphony as well as other companies worldwide. And we established kind of a core schedule so that, okay, we have folks in the US, we have folks in the UK, we have folks, you know, in Europe, we have folks in India. What is a time frame that everyone's going to be able to kind of give a little bit to make sure that we can all collaborate together? So we established that schedule. The second challenge that we face, and I think everybody faces this, not even just remote, I think even if you have a physical office space, is communication. Remote, I think one of the biggest challenges around just sometimes there's a lack of participation or a lack of attention. There's the abundance of tools. So there's so much to pay attention to, and interruptions, right? Most of the time, team members are working from their home. Everyone's situation is different. So to kind of address the attention lacking, when it comes to meetings, making sure that there are different roles assigned to people so that people are engaging, that they have some skin in the game. They have to participate. They have to take notes versus there's typically one person that is always the note taker and then everyone kind of gets off the hook. And so sharing that responsibility through assigning meeting roles so that there's those expectations set from the start. The one that we struggle with is tools, right? There's just so many different tools and we're far from figuring this one out. There's so many tools. Some people prefer this, some people prefer that. Oh, they came from a company where this tool was liked. And so we don't have the answer yet. We're still working through that one, trying to come up with, I think, a policy so that, you know, new people coming on board know what to go to for what information. And the last one I mentioned was interruption. So for me, it's be patient and flexible. Everyone's situation is different. For me, for example, I don't have kids at home. They're grown. I have a husband and I have some fur babies, but you know, everyone's situation is different. So some team members may need a little bit more time in the morning because they need to get their children off to school or they need to pick them up later in the day. So just being accommodating and being okay that, oh, people may need to take a call from the car. People may need to, you know, adjust their working hours to meet those responsibilities that they have. The last one, I think, again, is something that's not necessarily specific to remote, is just tracking productivity, right? So making sure that people are accomplishing the things, and it's different for each company. So we work with companies outside of ours to help achieve the goals we need to. And so each person may be invested slightly different, you know, versus an Avantage employee versus someone working from one of our vendors. And so it's a constant process, right, of making sure to understand where they're coming from, where we're coming from. And so it's this fine line that you have to walk between autonomy and tracking, you know, making sure that people are working towards that outcome that you're looking for and not necessarily trying to track every little thing that they do. So in order to kind of address this, we use certain tools to kind of capture the work that's happening that then will radiate, here's the progress that's happening across the board. It's not perfect. We have room for improvement, and that, you know, working with Symphony has been great because they brought their ideas to the table, and other vendors that we've worked with. Okay, what works for you, right? You can always glean and benefit from how others are doing it. You don't always have the right answers. The other one is just making sure that you have regular check-ins, right? Discussing progress. Okay, what are your obstacles? What are your blockers? What are your concerns? So that people feel they have a way to communicate. A couple others that are worth mentioning. For me, coming into the remote world, I had worked at companies where you could do a little bit of remote, but in this role, I am full-time remote. So there's the loneliness, like the isolation of, and that's important even for team members. So we've looked at kind of renting the co-working space where there's a large group of individuals for the company. So at least they can get out and interact, collaborate. The other one I think is unplugging, right? At the end of the day, it's important to establish a routine, have a separate room that you can kind of disconnect, because it's like if you're always seeing it, are you really disconnecting and focusing on your family? This is your home away from home, your work, but you also have family obligations. So just making sure that you unplug.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Amanda. So talking about challenges managing remote teams and how to handle them, Rodrigo, what's your opinion, please?
Well, Amanda didn't leave me anything more to say, actually. It was spot on what all the challenges that Amanda mentions. However, I would like to supplement with from my HR approach, our HR approach in the company, how we're being, the challenges that we've been meeting. First of all, in a first conceptual basis, working remotely makes the work environment absolutely abstract. There's no offices, there's no neat or ugly bathroom, there is no there isn't any bottle of water tank where you can meet with your colleagues and gossip and chat around and discuss, and everything becomes insanely abstract because the working conditions, the physical working conditions, disappear. Is the employees' room or office that they've being able to set up in their place where they live. So that's a pretty big challenge. Actually, we were discussing that when we were running our work environment survey. We were trying to focus on what Amanda discussed previously. How is communication flowing within the different teams? Because everything is in the employee's mind. Every conflict, how it is resolved, how HR assists their employees. There's no any physical contact. We cannot see if someone is at their workplace or not. So yeah, everything is in their mind. So therefore, it is very important to try to develop, especially within mid-managers, middle management, specifically supervisors, skills and competencies regarding active listening and being and achieving that communication balance. It is like Amanda said, it's a very thin line, and if we communicate, if supervisors communicate with our employees very frequently, that we get the risk of turning into micromanagement. And the duration, the duration of those interactions, there must be a very good balance in order to ensure that we're being focused and we're achieving the goals of that communication interaction. The other challenge is the tackle our employees' sense of isolation. It's absolutely natural, employees feeling isolated. So that's why we try to promote any informal communication scenarios in which they can interact with, in order to keep those informal interactions and informal communications, to help them try to feel part of a team. That's why we need to make sure that those check-ins, those frequent interactions are not only focused on job-related issues, but also trying to foster a growth of the interrelation between the supervisor and the employee in a bit more personal level. With that, we try to help employees deal with working remotely, what I call the work from home mindset. Amanda already mentioned them. Interruptions, they've got family, all people have their daily household lives. So it's absolutely normal to expect some loss of productivity, in which management sometimes freak out, like they expect 102% productivity when, well, unfortunately, you've got a kid storming and interrupting a meeting, or something comes up. And helping our employees dealing with the mental and psychological burden of making sure that their family is aware that although he's physically at home, he has a responsibility with the company that is providing the employment, right? So we have in an HR team a psychologist whose sole goal is trying to talk with all of our employees and trying to detect and preemptively diagnose any kinds of mental issues that these isolation might be causing. And as well, dealing with management with what we call the blindness panic. Oh, I'm not seeing my people doing this work. Are they doing it right? Are they doing their job actually? So we needed to start promoting this new culture of, yeah, you need to give you guys some room in order to do the work under their circumstances. But it's incredibly important to limit or establish the limits of, okay, we need to establish some sort of schedule that you need to adhere to. These are the conditions in which you need to deliver. And we try to promote permanently building reliability in terms of the result of your work is actually what proves that you are actually doing your job. So yeah, and of course we do have, and it has been quite a challenge, we do have employees that definitely, well, take abusive attitudes regarding this freedom that they have, this great autonomy of working from their homes. So in that sense, we had to implement some work tracking tools, which are absolutely brilliant, but those are used in order to collect evidence that the employees is actually not fulfilling his work. Our first flag of people abusing and not doing their job is the result delivery. So yeah, and being very focused on tracking the results delivered and the commitments in terms of the people's performance. We've just implemented a new performance management system, and that helps us a lot in order to build that communication frequency focused on the deliverables that every single one of the employees need to deliver.
Well, thank you very much, Rodrigo. Gordana, with the huge experience that you have, still the challenges and how to handle them, please share some of your opinions.
Well, in addition to all of the examples that Amanda and Rodrigo shared, I can go with some even more specific examples of challenges. So one of them is that we, for example, identified and started. We noticed that some employees started reporting technical issues more frequently than usual. And when it comes to meetings, there were more excuses that they were not able to connect on time. And the moment we figured out that, basically, we started not investigating, but maybe working on the issue to see what's going on and what might be the reason. Is there really a technical issue? So we engaged the IT team to follow up with each of the team members that reported. We updated the communication policy that basically regarding the meeting adherence, which was one of the things that helped us a lot when it comes to resolving this issue. Then we also advised everybody basically to give a heads up whenever they face any challenge with the connection. And of course, we follow up with all of them so that we make sure that they get supported. So the most important thing is that these small actions basically gave us the result to reduce the number of missed meetings of the people, and we improved the understanding, which was even the most, the more important part, understanding of the employees of the importance to report any kind of technical issues. So that right away, so that they can get supported in a way. Another thing that was that we also experienced with the remote work is with the internet stability of people. That was like country specific. We basically were notified by the client that employees were having a lot of connection issues during the meetings, which affected not only the time frame of the meetings, but also affected the efficiency of the meetings. And we started gathering feedback from all the team members of what kind of internet package they were using. We also explored the options that they have on the market. We as Symphony supported them with providing them the routers and relevant internet packages, and that was really recognized by the clients. And we started seeing immediate results with that. But also, people also started looking for additional backup solutions whenever they, in case when they experienced disruptions for more than 30 minutes. Some of them were having issues with the connectivity for a couple of hours in certain areas. So they were we went a step ahead, and then we advised them to inform all of the stakeholders about that disruption, and also, which is even more important, to agree on a plan, on action plan, how to compensate those hours with it, because it's all about the delivery. So I would stop on those two for the time being.
Phenomenal. I feel like all that has been said already is like a chapter for a new book or like a handbook on managing remote teams. Moreover, we have already some comments here on YouTube. Alasia says, not seeing people doing their job fear. I faced this issue indeed, especially when remote work started being common.
Blindness panic.
So yes, please do share what you feel like, whether you agree or disagree with our experts. Share your thoughts. If you have questions, please leave those in comments. And by the way, we do have people from all over Ukraine. We have someone from Belgium. We do have people from Costa Rica. We have somebody from Lagos, Nigeria, and we still have somebody from Poland. Thanks a lot for this part. Let's move on. And this next part is about expectations and alignment. So establishing expectations can take time. How do you ensure the alignment? Please, Gordana, would you please start this time?
Yes, of course. Thanks. So I think that it's all about the method of communication. It's about removing obstacles and set clear expectations with the team. Alignment has to be done on a couple of levels, like on company values, to the project goals, to the team goals, to the sprint goals, and so on. I can give an example, a very recent one. For example, we part of the designers have been complaining on the lead, and they started feeling demotivated regarding the assignments and workload distribution, and they were also complaining on the poor monitoring of the progress of the work and then stuff like that. And we wanted to hear basically both sides, not only the complaints that were sent and communicated by the team participants, by the part of the designers, but also the lead himself. We figured out that designers didn't know basically how to navigate in Jira. It was so simple, let's say, factor that impacted that complaint. And when they were asked to share their screens and show him what was going on and stuff like that, it turned out that it was about how to use Jira, how to navigate through Jira. So what was done in this, how we ensure the alignment, basically the designers were advised, first of all, to attend the training on Jira. Then they were advised also not to wait for a task to be assigned, rather to reach out to the product owners. Then to adhere to the atmosphere for feedback before complaining, so that they seek first for clarification and ask for help in case there is the tasks are not clear. And then to stick to the set of deliverables that were set and stick to every step of the process. And of course, the lead himself promised to follow up with all of them, and the communication was improved. So as I said, in summary, it's about the method of communication. And I can say that we saw a result in less than 2 weeks with this action plan.
Thanks, Rodrigo. So how do you ensure the alignment when establishing the expectations?
Well, from our side, alignment, there are many things that imply alignment, but from my HR perspective, it's key to encourage the appropriate culture within the team, culture of, like Gordana said, of open feedback, of being that it is accepted to ask for and provide feedback, of communication. Once we have that culture, before it gets to the critical mass, we will then ensure that the team's culture itself will ensure its self-sustainability regarding the importance of the deliverables, of committing to the deadlines, and to build reliability. That is for the people that are currently working. But one step before is recruitment and selection. It's incredibly important to ensure alignment, that we bring people that have in their natural personality, high levels of self-discipline and self-management, that they are effective communicators, that they can communicate effectively, that they have a high sense of accountability in good and bad situations, and having the ability to prioritize and to filter noise. Remember, all the work environment is abstract. It's in the mind of each employee. So there's lots of noise that could, well, derail us from building this culture that we need. And more specifically and more concrete actions that we do here at Paperhead is onboarding and induction is key. Those first 3 months, 90 days are key in order to ensure people understand what are their goals, and more importantly, that the middle management knows exactly what is the goal of each one of their team members, that they are able to explain in simple terms what are expecting from them. And of course, during this induction, 3-month induction, we make them aware of the challenges they will face as remote employees, what we discussed, distractions, family, such, the cultural differences that we have. Here in Latin America, we have a way of communicating, saying things, and even a kind of humor that could not be quite understood by people in Africa, people in Nigeria, people in Europe. And that is very important to make them aware of that. And as well, setting, as mentioned before, setting this basic premises of, okay, we expect you to be available during these and these times. We expect you to speak up during this your meetings, trying to reinforce these key messages in order to make sure that they understand their contribution within the team and as the company, and let them know what the goals are for him, for the team, and for the department, and for the rest of the company.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo. So, Amanda, would you please the expectations and the alignments? Your opinion, please.
Sure. I think what Gordana and Rodrigo already said, I mean, I agree with. I think at the end of the day, you need to be engaged with team members to get a sense of what are they thinking, what are they feeling. And the only way that you're going to get that is having interactions with them, right? And so remote, I know some people, I know I live in a rural area in Minnesota, my connectivity sometimes isn't as strong as if I was in a more populated area. And so sometimes video isn't on for bandwidth reasons. But if it can be, there's so much that you can glean from body language by seeing people, right? It's listening and observing. What are you not hearing? What are you not seeing? To get a sense of, okay, body language, to be able to then have a follow-up conversation with that individual, or have their manager have a follow-up conversation to ensure that alignment. For me, it's a shared understanding, right? How you speak and how you act, making sure that that other party understands it in their way to ensure that alignment.
Thank you. I think we have already mentioned some of it, but trust. How did you build the environment of trust? How did you? Please give us an example. Maybe. Rodrigo, would you please start this time?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, it all boils down to making sure that our culture values outcomes. I mean, the outcomes are the evidence that the supervisor, management, the company has that you are actually doing your work. But as well, we need to provide as well the flexibility and the organizational understanding, to put it to give it a term, of that. We do understand that it could be really taxing on you if you're the same 12 hours a whole day here in the same room, that you might need a break longer that you usually normally would require to. So outcomes and meeting, delivering on time, it's really valuable to build the trust. Sorry. That's why it's important to embed those concepts into the culture. And another one that it's really important that I previously mentioned in the previous question is making sure that our middle managers, our supervisors, are accountable for their team's outcomes. You are accountable of the results delivered to the customer, to the company, to the next process, to the next department. You're accountable of what your team does. And in turn, that accountability is what actually helps build that trust that, okay, I do understand that you might have any problems, you might have any conflicts while achieving these goals. However, you must achieve them. You must be aware that timely communication is also key within the in the culture. The only difference, and we coined it into a sentence that says, the only difference between an excuse and a reason is just the time in which things happened. If some event happens and I provide the reasons of why this something specific happened the way it wasn't planned or supposed to be, that's an excuse. But we have the power to communicate timely and giving, hey, I won't be able to meet this deadline due to this, and this particular situations that I've encountered. That's a reason. So with that, and we open the flexibility in order to allow our employees to work how they fit according to a basic framework that will build trust as long as they're delivering their results.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo. Amanda, do you have an example of how you did build the environment of trust?
So I don't disagree with what Rodrigo's saying, but I think there's something before that, right? I think at the end of the day, it's about honesty. So I try to be very honest. And I think sometimes that comes off like people are shocked. And I'm like, I don't act one way with this group of people and another with this group. I'm honest. I'm a straight shooter. I mean, I don't have all the answers. As CEO, like, I don't have all the answers. And I think hearing that sometimes is humbling, right? It's like, oh, she is just like us. I do have the ability to get some myself. I also have the ability to work with others to get them. And I'm not going to sit there and paint a rosy picture. Things are not great every single day. And trying to pretend that they are doesn't help anyone. So I think it starts with connecting with people. I mean, we're all humans at the end of the day. You know, I firmly believe that you're going to get outcomes if you get to know your team and that your team gets to know each other. And so finding ways to build that bond, that relationship remotely, it can be challenging. So, you know, we need to do a better job of that. We can set up virtual like happy hours, right? At other companies I've worked at, we've had a Thirsty Thursday, a virtual meeting. At a company I worked at prior to this, I led a team, and every day I happened to have an office. I had a large table in there. I brought in games from home, and it was shocking to just see over the kind of the lunch hour, everyone in there playing, and the bond that they developed that then spilled over to work. When we moved remote, it was like we were all nervous, like, oh man, everyone looked forward to that. How are we going to keep that going? And so the team figured ways to do it remotely. There's online games that you can play. One of the games that was the favorite was Bananagrams. And it's like, okay, maybe there's an online version of it. to still allow them to have that outlet to kind of talk about things and it spills over. I think another thing is assume positive intent. Give people the benefit of the doubt, you know, assume that they had good intentions, you know, following up on that, as well as just effective communication. Just be honest. You know, you can't maybe disclose everything, but just be honest if you don't know something, so that at least your team or, you know, management or leadership knows what you're working with. It's not about pointing fingers. It's about just, here, do we all have a shared understanding so that we can achieve what we need to achieve? One example that I can give is I had an interview last week, and I'm the same way that I am at work. And at the end of the interview, the candidate expressed something to the effect of like, this is an interview like unlike any others. Like, it just felt so conversational. Like, I'm chatting with a friend, and I'm like, because that's how we're going to operate if you come into the company. So I want you to get a sense of what it would be like. And I also was honest of, we have our challenges. Every company has their challenges. And just giving that forum, that openness, allowed him to disclose things that he may not have disclosed otherwise. For him, he mentioned loneliness. Okay, great. So trying to glean information to then go back and evaluate. Our environment isn't perfect, right? And so what can we do? Constantly trying to improve it, but it takes getting information from your team to know what could work for them.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I didn't know about the bananagrams. I am taking my notes. Thank you so much for sharing that game. Thanks very much, Amanda. So, Gordana, how was it for you building the environment of trust?
Well, I can confirm that it takes time with remote teams to build the trust. And since trust is one of the Symphony values, it matters even more to us. And it takes time because now the onboarding is online, and especially if it's about members being part of an augmentation team. That means that that person has to make a balance and build the trust with both companies, and depends on the priority that the team member will put, which is always the client, of course. You have to work on that. But I can say that we do a lot of things, and we keep inventing also other approaches that primarily that will give results. I do believe in continuous constructive feedback. I will give an example, of course, but I can say I can mention some of them. For example, we will invest a lot in one-on-ones. We do team health check meetings regularly, so that we follow or track the progress towards the top 5 hot topics, concerns for the team. Then we celebrate the achievements regularly. Then we have a very nice event, which is called Symphony Persona. We present people internally and on the social media, those who have contributed to the team, to the company, those that have interesting background or have been recognized in a way. Then we aim to be culturally sensitive company, meaning that we organize specific events that are close to, let's say, and we are covering like local topics that are and local teams. I mean, in certain geographies. And one of the examples that I would like to share here is with regards to one of the leads again. For example, during his interim performance review, we have been identified areas for improvement in terms of his leadership skills and delegation skills. And we basically started working with him, but it was he felt so much supported, I can say, simply because not only the SDM was involved, but people partner, because every person has its own people partner, and the academy lead and everybody. Basically, we made a team who was working with him. He felt so much supported, and he started contributing. He started changing. He felt so much motivated. So it's again not only about giving feedback, what was done wrong or what could have been done better, but also how you can achieve the next goal that is in front of you, so that you don't feel alone on the way.
For me, it was very emotional, Gordana. Thank you so much. Thank all of you. Here's another question. When managing remote teams, it's always about outcomes or activities, or both. What's your opinion? Do we focus on outcomes or the activities, or both, and why? Amanda, would you please?
Sure, I think it's a little bit of both, but the focus mostly on outcomes, right? At the end of the day, what matters is that the team gets results in the agreed upon time frame. And so in order to achieve the outcome, there's certain things that have to happen, but let the team figure out how to achieve that outcome. Just focus on, here's what the outcome that was agreed upon, and here's the time frame. Don't waste time obsessing over the time, the team dedicates to getting it done and how they get it done. I think you will get more out of people if everyone understands the outcome and there's an agreed upon time frame, and they will feel empowered and have more ownership in coming up with how to solve that.
Thank you. Huge question, but a very quick answer. Gordana, your opinion, please. Outcomes or activities, or both, and why?
I would agree with Amanda. I would say it's a little bit of both, especially at the beginning with the team setup. Until the team gets stabilized, the team members may need to be trained, equipped, aligned. But I would definitely later on focus more on the activities, because that gives them the freedom, the opportunity to set their own schedule, that gives them the freedom to solve the problems in a way that they think it's best. But of course, that also depends on the tools that they have to succeed. So it's a little bit of both. One of the examples maybe that is relevant to this question and this topic is that we have the situation when some of the team members, after completing the task, they were not available, or they have not been responding for quite a while, or with a delay. And when they were asked why is that happening, because you were supposed to be responsive within your working window, and it turned out that they either started working earlier, or they finished earlier, or they have been working on another machine, another PC. So the solution here was that there was a report built that showed basically the real activity of the team into the preferred virtual machine, and the team. The most important thing, that report, which is basically tracking of the metrics, focus on the metrics, gave us the opportunity to make them more aware of the importance of doing the job, doing the work into the VDI, into the virtual machine. But then later on, so that they can focus on the work being done, which is the outcome. They also remained they were advised on a couple of things. They improved in general their behavior, but it took us a while to understand why this has been happening. So again, I would say that it's a little bit of both.
I didn't expect another answer, but still, Rodrigo, why should we focus on outcomes or activities, or should we focus on both?
Well, as I mentioned before, in our PPH's culture, the outcome is very valuable. It's what proves that you're reliable and you accomplished the job. Although there are activities, there are tasks, sometimes there are jobs that need to be done in a standardized way. We cannot focus too much on the activity, because we will have as a consequence the blindness panic from supervisors. So there's some room to guide, provide general criteria, and for example, some standardized way of coding something. We have some rules really clear and transparent that people must adhere to, but how they solve the different problems and challenges that in their work, it's up to them. So yeah, we do have supervisors that focus too much on the activity, and well, they get this blindness panic. But we've been trying to let them know how to let go of that, paying so close attention to how things are done by the team. Let them, as Amanda said, let the team figure things out. But their role as a leader is not to ensure that they are following step by step the activity, but to provide general guidance. That's also a challenge that needs to be developed, and we are currently developing in the company in our middle managers.
Thank you. We are limited on time a little bit, but still, here's this next and probably my favorite question here, and that's the following: how do you bring creativity and fun to the remote teams? Who wants to start?
I can jump in. So I think, one, you have to be open to figuring out how to be creative and how to bring that fun in there. So for example, maybe take a look at your existing tools. We happen to use Microsoft. Microsoft Teams has a whiteboarding feature, right? So within a meeting or a group chat, hey, that's a way to spark creativity, to get people to collaborate. I think ask for feedback, ask for suggestions. Everyone brings a different perspective. Within the last several months at our company, we had one gentleman who could tell that some of the meetings, the reoccurring meetings, were pretty dry. And so he tried to infuse a little humor. So he started throwing in dad jokes at the beginning of a meeting, right? At the beginning of a meeting, to kind of lighten the mood, which then kind of put people at ease and kind of open them up. And so now every Friday in this meeting that happens every day, the team members look forward to it. And others, I mean, I do my research on dad jokes and I come prepared. It's like a joke off happening. And that's fun, right? It's like work hard, but play hard too. So another example is at the end of a sprint review, we have this presentation, we walk through it, and the very last slide, when I put them together, I would give a thank you slide, but I would put images in there that were kind of like puns to kind of leave on a high note, something positive, something, a little humor in there. And so Symphony has started to do that, and they kind of switched it up, and they have now included pictures of their fur babies. So it's great. So now we get to learn who has what. Sometimes they're in the picture with their fur baby. That's great. People look forward to that. It's fun. Others, schedule some time to socialize. If there are groups of people, I live in Minnesota, there's a few other people here. Schedule something where we can get together in person, right? Another thing that we haven't done it here, but it's something that I've thought of at a previous company. We had 2 offices, but we'd had a remote team. And so we did like a remote challenge, a desk cycle, right? You're sitting all day. If you have a stand-up desk, that's great. But so you can buy these little cycles that are underneath your desk to get people to pedal. And it's a challenge, right? Like, okay, for this amount of period of time, how many, I don't know what it is, steps, somehow it converts, but things like that. Also just open it up and ask people for suggestions. People have worked at other companies. There might be great suggestions that you can entertain.
Wow, I'm still taking notes. Thank you very much, Amanda. Rodrigo, how do you bring creativity and fun to the remote
Well,
team?
yeah, very similar as Amanda mentions it. We try to take every single occasion to get to socialize. For instance, every department has a budgeted amount for them to go meet, have some dinner, have some drinks when they're able, and try to take advantage of that, of bringing them together. It doesn't have to be a work meeting. It's with the sole purpose of seeing each other, sharing a couple of hours, and that's pretty much it. And trying to find for any reason to do some unusual, for instance, and last year in Halloween, we made a virtual costume contest, and people were incredibly creative with that. And in another situation, we wanted to test out some poker software that the company was implementing. So we made a poker tournament for all employees, so we could test out. We try to put some social aspect into work-related things, and well, of course, as well, 80% of the company is based in Latin America. So us Latin Americans, we tend to chit chat at the beginning, the first 5-10 minutes of every meeting, and we allow that to make sure that people get their chance to tell their colleagues how they're feeling, what happened in their lives, and everything. So yeah, as Latins, we love that social interaction, so we try to promote that.
We have a question from our participant Bodan. He's asking, Rodrigo, who were you for Halloween?
Oh, I dressed myself as the Mr. Miyagi, the Karate Kid's mentor.
Okay.
Yeah, that was fun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Gordana, creativity and fun with the remote teams. Your experiences, please.
Yeah, simply have to mention the online team building that we make. One of them was really amazing. It was in the people who got dressed in a casino style as recommended dress code. And the event was named as Welcome to the Fabulous Symphony City. And we really had a great time with games, gifts, and awards. And people are asking for more similar events, to be honest. And this was done for one of our teams in Nigeria, and there was no chance for them to meet in person, and that was a great chance for them to get to know each other and participate in different activities. Very recently, we started with the virtual communities. With different bands on Yammer, and I can say that these are great places not only to have fun but also to learn more. and are also seen as inclusive workplaces. So it's a great initiative, but of course there are other ideas, examples that can be like virtual happy hours, or virtual coffee breaks, or learn product through game, like with Hood, and so on.
Oh, thanks for sharing these experiences and the great examples, Gordana. Thank you very much. I have this really quick question here, and that's about micromanaging. There's a lot of discussions on that, but still, your own personal opinion on micromanaging, yes or no? Rodrigo, would you please?
Definitely not. Definitely not. That actually goes against the openness and what we've all discussed. If we pay insanely close attention of everything the person is doing, our people is doing, you're actually suffocating them and not allowing them to work as they better see fit, you know. Yeah, so definitely not. No.
Amanda, your opinion, please.
I am 100% in agreement with Rodrigo. I think micromanagement leads to lower engagement. It zaps morale, and you just aren't able to get the creativity and innovation. Now, it isn't easy, right? I think constantly evaluating through, I mean, there's plenty of tools out there where you can take a test, and it's like, have some self-awareness and be cognizant of, are you crossing that line, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think people need to constantly, within the leadership, of just taking a look at, are they might not think they are, but after, taking some evaluation, getting peer feedback, because you may actually be. I know that I have fell into that. There's times when I'm like, oh, come back over. You have to find other ways to address whatever concerns or anxiety that you may be having, because it's just not going to be in the best interest of your team.
Great, thanks. And Gordana, yes or no?
Absolutely no, because I see micromanaging as the opposite of being agile, and I'm really keen on like individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So definitely in alignment with Amanda and Rodrigo.
Thank you so much. Before we move on to this last question for today, I know it's been an hour, but I probably, just like everybody else, just got a little excited listening to your answers and receiving this knowledge. Please ask your questions, whether you use this Q&A box on Zoom, or write your questions down in comments on YouTube. Meanwhile, my last question for today would be, would you please share the 3 tips, your own personal best 3 tips for managing remote teams in 2023? Gordana, would you please?
Of course. Well, my top 3 tips would be, one of them is like servant leadership, or I can name it open door policy, meaning that everyone can reach at any times and not waiting for their one-on-ones or for writing official emails. I'm more focused on coaching, on empowering people, on involving them in different initiatives, more active listening and stuff like that. Then another one would be like encouraging peer-to-peer support. That's what we do in Symphony. Tech expert, process expert help to introduce best practices within the teams. And my last one would be that one single communication tool for for chats, emails, conferences would make life easier for everybody.
Thanks a lot, Rodrigo. Would you please, the 3 tips for, yes.
The 3 rules. Prove to everybody, your boss, your colleagues, your direct reports, that you are reliable and transparent. It's okay to say, I don't know, as Amanda mentioned. It's okay to say, I made a big mess up. It's okay. We don't know everything. Secondly, important issues shouldn't ever be discussed in chat, emails. Just make the conference and have a live meeting with preferably with a camera, so you can have a face-to-face interaction. More often than not, we've seen situations that could have been avoided, those insanely lengthy email chains with discussions between 2 people in opposite sides of their opinions. It can be easily discussed and agreed in a 30-minute call or a Zoom call. And promoting to speak up, ask for opinions, ask for comments, ask for feedback, and promote that everything is valued and we're listening to that. Those are the 3 rules.
Thank you so much. And the 3 tips from Amanda Beloy.
So a couple of mine are different. So I'd say the number 1 thing is set boundaries. Work and life are going to become blurred. I don't care how hard you try. So establish a routine, right? I had a coworker at a previous company where she's like, I established a routine. I took a shower in the morning, I walked the dog, and that was the trigger of my day is starting at the end of the day, right? So I take advantage of Microsoft Teams. They have a capability where it's an insight at the end of my working hours. I've established working hours in the system. Right before my working hours are up, I get a pop-up and it's a friendly reminder. Are you ready to disconnect? It's a visual cue to me because I could be heads down working and it's like, oh, hey, okay, it's time to check out. And establish a dedicated workspace. Have a space that you can leave at the end of the day. Because if you carry your computer around everywhere, then work is your whole, if you're working from home, your home is now your entire workplace. Set aside a space and work with your company to make sure that you have the right equipment to be effective and efficient. So set boundaries. The second one is socialization. Schedule time to socialize. Make sure that you are engaging. It's really important because you're not in an office, right? So you miss out on the benefits of that built-in kind of the social benefits in an office. I think some of the most memorable moments here at Avantage, I have to give kudos to Symphony. There's 2 events that they brought to the table. One recently, I know Gordana mentioned it, Kahoot. I mean, those are the highlights. It was send in a baby picture, and we've worked with the team. So there's a baby picture and then some things. I am a Christmas holic. Like I love Christmas. I decorate. And that was my little fact that they had gleaned from interacting with me. That connects people. So socialization is so important, and the company needs to invest in that and champion it constantly. And then, Gordana already mentioned, and Rodrigo as well, the open communication, right? Having that open door policy, just communicate. Make sure that you're reaching out, that you're checking in, so that you aren't kind of left on an island, because sometimes it can feel like you're on an island. So communicate would be the third.
Wow, phenomenal. This is phenomenal. We do have questions, which I'm so happy about. So this first question is from Samuel, and it is the following: how to fight fatigue as a remote worker? Thank you.
I mean, so I'll jump in. I think for me, I've felt this. There's times when I felt burnt out. Schedule time. I put 15-minute time slots, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. I live in a remote area, so to go to my mailbox and back is 1/8 of a mile. Take the time to disconnect, to energize yourself, to recharge. Make time for yourself.
Anybody else, please?
Absolutely, that's key. Being able to set aside time for your health, especially because, well, there are occasions in which your office is literally seconds from your bedroom. So you need time for your health, to take care of yourself. It's really important. Investing time in your well-being will prevent being forced to take time to take care of your illness. So yeah, it's a time investment.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Gordana.
I can agree with Amanda. It's about setting some routine before your working hours and being aware when to end up, or simply to do certain things in between that energizes you. So yeah, it's about becoming even more aware of what you're doing and for how long you were doing some activity and how that impacts to your well-being.
Thank you. And thank you, Samuel, for the question. I hope you've heard a very good answer, or at least 3 of those. And we have a comment from Tatiana. I do agree with the speakers regarding micromanagement, but I think it also depends much upon employee seniority.
Well, that's true. That's true. But again, I can say that that's connected somehow to the over communication, and especially with the newcomers in the team, and especially and of course with the seniority. And I suppose that employees do deserve to be like more follow-up and get supported with accommodation, to get familiar, or to get more familiar with the company policies, with the tools, processes, and stuff like that. So, because some people do prefer to be contacted more often, and that's really, and they do appreciate that, because that's how they secure. And in these terms, I see this as the over communication as an advantage.
Yeah, and we have this last question from one of our participants. He's very annoying today. His name is Boden. He's asking how to get all the team members to turn their cameras on.
Just ask them. Sorry if it sounds insanely obvious, but just ask them. You will find people that feel uncomfortable, that they don't feel uncomfortable. But if you reach that critical mass in which it's part of the culture, for example, in PPH, people know that every meeting with HR, we have the camera on, because we like to see each other. So we start building that culture every single day. We start to build that culture. Like, hey, wouldn't you mind to turn off the camera? I'd like to. Hey, we haven't seen each other in a couple of months. Please turn the camera. Well, and if we foster this ambiance of openness, like, hey, I haven't showered yet. Like, oh, no worries about that. Don't turn it on then. It's being transparent and honest, and showing people that, yeah, it's okay. We are aware that you're working from home, but very next meeting, oh, he turns on his camera. That's it. It's just asking them and not imposing them. Like, it's company policy that all meetings have to be with the camera on. It's asking them.
Anybody else, please? Or that was more than enough.
I mean, I agree with Rodrigo. It's asking them. And it's also, there's times when it's like, yeah, I have early morning calls. I mean, there's calls at 6 a.m. So sometimes I'm like, I'm sleeping in until 5:45 today, and then I'm just going to roll upstairs. So like giving a heads up, that would be nice. Or saying, hey, you know, I just got out of bed because I'm trying to accommodate some of the remote workforce. We have people that are overseas, but I think it's just asking them.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
I usually do the opposite way. Instead of asking them, I always I'm asking, can you see me? By the way, I had some issues with connecting and with the camera. Do you see me apart from hearing me? And they say, oh yeah. And then they turn on the camera.
That's about creativity.
Pretty subtle.
Let's wrap up. I am being privileged to have you, all of you together, the legends of management, the remote teams. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you watching us online, the Chief Executive Officer at Avantage Entertainment, Amanda Beloy.
Thank you.
And the Corporate Human Resources Manager at Paperhead, Mr. Rodrigo Vega.
Thank you very much indeed. Delightful time.
And the Service Delivery Manager at Symphony Solutions, Gordana Andonovska.
Thank you, Bogdan. It was a privilege.
It was a pleasure. And for all of the participants, whether you are watching us on YouTube or here on Zoom, I will kindly ask you to fill out the feedback form, which you will receive probably tomorrow, and to share your impressions of our talk. By the way, down in comments, there will be the list of open vacancies at Symphony Solutions. We've been streaming all the way from Ukraine, our Lviv office of the Symphony Solutions. And I am so grateful for all of you being here with us. Thank you so much, and see you next time.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah.